You were 12 when your father, Ahmad Massoud, was killed. It was on September 9th, 2001. He was killed by Al-Qaeda. 2 days later, Al-Qaeda struck the Twin Towers in New York, setting in motion a U.S. military intervention in your country, Afghanistan. It's now going to reach the 20-year mark. You're here in Paris because the Paris City Council has decided to unveil a plaque where your father will be honored. Exactly 20 years ago, he was actually here in Paris. How significant is this for you?
It's first of all, I'd like to express my utmost gratitude to all the Parisians, to the Council of Paris, and to the Mayor of Paris for making it happen. It is for not just all Afghans, for my family, but it is for everyone who fought and who sacrificed their dear ones and loved ones against the global terrorism. And this is a significant moment, and we are grateful for this, and we thank them. It's for me, it's really a huge pleasure, and it's a huge honor. It means a lot and gives us who are in Afghanistan, who are still the victims of the global terrorism, who are still suffering from global terrorism, these recognition and these symbolic acts. It means a lot for us to have the energy and to encourage us to even work harder, to try harder to stop this global terrorism.
In 2019, you decided to enter politics to follow in the footsteps of your late father. You've taken strong positions against the Taliban. Right now, a year ago, the US signed a deal with the Taliban, essentially exchanging a US troop withdrawal against the Taliban, cutting off their ties to Al-Qaeda and other global terrorist groups. Was it a mistake for the US to strike a deal with the Taliban that they've been fighting for so many years?
Absolutely. It was not up to the Americans to sign an agreement with the Taliban. It was for Afghans to make an agreement with them. By signing an early agreement with Americans with the Taliban, they completely destroyed the balance of negotiation and the balance of power inside Afghanistan. And that is why the Doha conference was not successful. That is why we are having the Turkey and Istanbul conference.
The Doha conference being the ensuing negotiations between the Afghan government and the Taliban, essentially pushed by the US, but they were a failure, according to you?
Absolutely. And we see the result of the Doha conference after 1 year, that the result is non-existent, unfortunately. And the reason being was one of the major reasons for the failure is the deal that has been signed between Americans and the Taliban, which was premature, which was a rush decision, and it completely destroyed the balance of negotiation.
It has also set a date, May 1st, for the U.S. troop withdrawal. We're getting very close. President Joe Biden said it would be tough to meet that deadline. How do you see things evolving? I mean, do you want the U.S. troops to withdraw as of May 1st, or would you like them to stay because the situation is not stabilized in Afghanistan?
What I can say is that we were always pro-peace. And 2019, when the people rallied behind us and they came to us and asked us and put the position and the responsibility of being the successor of my father upon us, it was not to be against the Taliban. It was to be pro-peace and to be against violence and against destruction. We are still worried about this matter. And regarding the American and regarding them leaving Afghanistan and the deal with the Taliban, what I can say is that we want them to have patience. And what we require is patience regarding the peace in Afghanistan, because...
Do you want them to stay after May 1st?
We want patience from them, and we do not want another rush decision just like the Doha one. If there is a peaceful negotiation, if there is a patience regarding the peace, and also to have the EU, which is an important partner and important in a strategic
ally. They've been totally sidelined.
Exactly. That is why I'm here, that we want the EU and we want the French government and we want this strategic partner who stood by Afghanistan during the resistance, during the Soviet invasion, and in the past 20 years to be a major player in the current negotiation with the Taliban and bringing peace in Afghanistan.
But there are no negotiations with the Taliban. It seems they're gaining militarily. We see them on the offense. Yes, they're sparing U.S. troops, but they're not sparing Afghan troops or civilians for that matter. Yeah. And politically as well. I mean, they have the upper hand. I mean, do you have the feeling that the U.S. is rushing for the door after 20 years for internal political reasons and that they're essentially giving the keys of Afghanistan to the Taliban?
Absolutely. They're not giving keys to the Taliban. They're giving keys to the violence and destruction and conflict. Because if they leave Afghanistan with a rush decision, with a premature peace process, Afghanistan is going to fall onto another chaos and violence and
civil war.
Civil war. Yes.
Civil war?
Yes, absolutely.
In the north region, are you preparing for war more than for peace?
The people are preparing for both scenarios. We are very hopeful. We are going to do everything we can regarding the peace process and to bring the lasting peace in Afghanistan. And the peace in the eyes of the people of Afghanistan means, and it has a definition, and it means something. And we sacrifice so much. We both did. The strategic partners of Afghanistan, the international community, alongside the Afghans, we lost so many people, and it means something for us. But at the same time, if the peace, which unfortunately in the past experience that we had with the other side, it was always used just to fuel the war machine. If once again this peace process and this peace opportunity has been used for such reasons, then the people are ready to pick up arms to defend themselves one more time.
The North is ready to fight the Taliban?
Not the North, the whole Afghanistan.
The whole of Afghanistan. The US has also lately, the Biden administration, I should say, put on the table another proposal, a transitional government. President Ashraf Ghani has said, no way, I'm not accepting this, and he's just put out a counter-proposal, I guess that's how you would describe it, to hold early elections in 6 months. Yeah. Is he right to oppose such a transitional government in Afghanistan, and what do you make of his latest proposal?
Well, I believe we all must make some sacrifices for the sake of Afghanistan, just the way that we are willing to forgive the people who are responsible for killing my father and assassinating my father for the sake of Afghanistan prosperity and safety and peace. Mr. Ashraf Ghani must also sacrifice his power and his throne for the peace in Afghanistan. And I believe...
What do you mean?
That a transitional government to really bring a peace and a situation for Afghanistan to go forward is not such a bad idea.
So you think he's refusing because it means losing power?
I believe he is refusing because he wants to continue his power. Even the election, if you think about it, we all know what happened in the last election. So the people of Afghanistan, they do not have a very clear and good memory of election. And the election, the situation is not ready for another election. The territories, the country, the safety and security, especially the integrity of the election and clarity of election is one of the major questions.
So a transitional government, it would be with the Taliban? That's the idea?
They can be a part of it. Why not? I do not see that as a problem. But the person who, or the people who are responsible for transitioning the government, or they are going to make the election happen, they cannot be a major player in the next government. So we must have a clear idea of the person or the people who are responsible for transition government.
Right. Do you think a real dialogue with the Taliban is still possible, or do you think that whatever they do is to earn time and prepare for war?
Absolutely. I believe we must talk with Taliban. We must make peace with the Taliban, and they must realize that Afghanistan of today has changed from 20 years ago, and they must realize that the today's generation, they want peace and they want talk and they want dialogue with them. And we will have no problem whatsoever to accept the Taliban as the reality of the today's Afghanistan's politics and to integrate them into the Afghanistan's political system. However, we will not sacrifice the values. We will forgive the sacrifices, but we will not sacrifice the values that we fought for, such as the democratic values, such as the election, the women's right, human right, freedom of speech, and many other values that we fought in the past 4 decades.
Not exactly their values.
Well, we respect them and they must respect ours.
Your father was a promoter of a kind of Swiss model for Afghanistan. But is it still realistic today, now 20 years after, with all this turmoil, conflict, and so on?
I believe the past 20 years and the past 2 decades is exactly the proof and evidence for us to know that Ahmad Massoud was absolutely right regarding the system in Afghanistan. The major reason that Afghanistan is in this situation, in today's situation, is because that we do not have an accountable, a proper system to work for today's Afghanistan. A Swiss model, a decentralized model, which was the dream of Ahmad Massoud, is the only way out of Afghanistan.
Is it realistic?
Afghanistan situation.
Is it realistic?
Absolutely. The majority of Afghanistan, they want a decentralized system, a deconcentration of power.
Is Ashraf Ghani a bad president for Afghanistan?
Absolutely.
Why? Because he's playing the ethnic card, because of corruption, because he's
All
not
of the
doing the
above.
right thing?
All of the above.
He should leave?
Absolutely.
Ahmad Massoud, I want to thank you very much for being our guest here on the France 24 interview. Thank you for watching it, and stay tuned for more news.